All right, you guys. We're back once again with the ill behaviors to Rich Cooper. This is Ill Bill. We're going to talk about him again because his clips are awesome. Let's do it.
Survey the audience. Are single fathers hypocrites for avoiding single moms with dating? And no, they're not, was the vast majority. Now, granted, most of the guys that watch my channel are dudes.
Yeah.
There's not as many women, but let's check out the comments here because this usually sorts it by the top comments.
Redo it on Twitter.
Oh, Twitter will just break the internet if you put it there because that's where the outrage mobs hang out. Dude here says, I'm a single dad and my last relationship ended because the single mother I was dating didn't like the fact that my time and attention went to my own child instead of her kid every other weekend. It didn't matter that I spent more time taking care of her kid than my own, even going so far as to demand that I take my ex-wife back to court and fight for full custody so as to eliminate my son's mother from the equation.
Wow.
Two problems with that. I'm a guy, two, California. Bonus, she's making demands on his life with his, with his own kids. Bonus reason.
And what leverage does she have? I don't understand why they think you have this
She's got no leverage, and he should definitely drop her ass. But
leverage to just make these demands.
Well, it's because they have the leverage and they think that it'll work the other way, right? It's like, it's a blank slate for everybody. Men and women are the same. No, they're not. Men and women are different, and that's okay. Risk making matters worse with the ex-wife and ruining my relationship with my son. So she basically wanted to throw a huge monkey wrench in what he had going on with his parenting schedule. It didn't matter how many diapers I changed, baths I'd given, dinners cooked, trips home from daycare I've made. All that time and attention I gave to another man's kid only for him to inevitably grow up and tell me, you're not my dad. I don't have to listen to you. Cold hard facts, right?
Those are cold hard facts. And let's be clear, the mom is not going to treat him as if he was the father. It's going to be all fucking fun and games until he does something she doesn't like, and then she's going to be like, don't raise my kid, don't be you can't discipline my kid, you know what I'm saying, it's not your kid, blah 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 blah, all this bullshit, right? Single moms and single dads are not the fucking same. Single dads, we do a certain amount of shit depending on what your situation is, right? Like you've got some things that you got to do, right? But in general, as the man of the household, you really have some shit you have to do. And so if you're involved with a woman and she's got a kid or whatever, you're going to be required to pay the fucking bills, put the roof over that kid's head that's not yours, pay for extracurriculars, school shit, clothes, food, fucking whatever. All this bullshit that's not going towards your kid, it's going towards her kid. And she thinks she's just like, most women think that they deserve that it's like a given or something like that. Yo, clown world. Do not raise another man's fucking kid. I've been having this fucking conversation, pardon my language. Damn, I can't help but cuss on some of this stuff. I've been having this conversation with my homeboy. Look, I'm not going to name his name. I haven't talked to him in a long time, and recently I just tapped in with them because I've been off the social media space for a long time, and we kind of had like a little bit of a falling out, but that was a long time ago. You know what I mean? That's a lot of energy and a lot of thought, way past all of that, right? So I tapped in with them just to kind of see how he's doing. Yo, my man is blowing up. Okay, he is a boss. For real. Dude's making like $150 an hour or something like that. He's got his own crib. He got a fucking pool in the back. Rocks the Merc, you know what I'm saying? Like, he is doing so good for himself, man. And I shout out to you, brother. You know who you are, man. I'm just so real proud of you, okay? He's got no kids, all right? And the last woman that he was dating was a single mother, okay? And, we didn't get to talk until after all this had happened, and then he split with her, you know what I mean? And now we're talking, right? And I know he watches some red pill content, but he ain't, he's still kind of plugged in, right? No offense, brother. I love you. I had to tell this man, do not date no more single mothers. Stay the fuck away from them, okay? He has spent the last 25 years or whatever it's been, 20 years building up himself, his resources, his game, you know what I'm saying? Getting his mind right, doing his thing, right? Getting his money right. He manages a group of engineers and shit. He's a fucking boss, okay? This is my guy. He is doing exactly what he's supposed to have been doing. And, the years previous, with some learning experiences and shit, we all got him, you know what I mean? But right now, he's exactly where he needs to be, right? And he's my age, too. And so I told him, I said, bro, Like, all you need to do is take a step back. You already got your, your game is tight. You know what I'm saying? You're good with women. Your money is tight. You got some social anxiety shit you got to work out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But you need to put yourself in the right spaces to where these women can see you. And so many single women will be up his ass, bro, because he is exactly what they want. He is everything that they want. And, he's told me some things like, oh, maybe I'll find a chick with a kid, that I can take care of or whatever. I'm like, nah, nigga, nah. Fuck that. You are in the position right now to spread your own seed, bro, to have your own kids, to teach them the ways that you want, to put forth. You just got to make the right decisions. You got to find the right woman, which is impossible. Okay. It's impossible because all the women right now are wrong for the most part, especially at his age, right? If they're 40 years old and they ain't got no kids, what the fuck you been doing? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying on laws of the average probabilities, you know what I'm saying? Something, if you made it to 40 and ain't nobody checked that, you know what I mean? There's an issue, right? So I keep telling them, I'm like, you got to tone it down a notch. You know what I'm saying? Maybe getting to 30, 29, 28, this and that. Because he'll probably have more than one. Maybe he'll have 2 or 3 kids if she's right for him. You know what I mean? And he can afford to do that. He can afford to do that. He can have the kids. He can take care of his family. You know what I mean? Do it the right way. And find himself a woman who doesn't have all that baggage. Now, very difficult. I'm trying to give him some things to look out for and some red flags to stay away from, which he already knows a lot of them. But it's the mindset, right? Why would you want to raise some other dude's kid? Now that dude's in your fucking life and you got all these uphill issues, you know what I mean, that you would never have to deal with if you could just find a woman who was on your level, right? And when I say on your level, I just mean single, no baby mama, you know what I mean? No baby daddy drama, preferably somebody who was raised, by their father as well as their mother, like that kind of shit, right? And I've been trying to tell him. So, prayers to my boy. I hope he finds what he's looking for. You know what I mean? He's at that age right now where it's getting to be that time, if that's what he wants. And I think he does. That's the thing. We talk about it. I think it does, or he does. He's gotten to that point in his life where he's like, okay, now I can teach a kid something. I can provide for a family, and do what I need to do, right? Like I say, he's the man right now. So that's what I'm telling you. Stay away from it. If you a single father, then you should most definitely stay away from single mothers, even more so than just single dudes, right? Because not only do you have to pour into somebody else's kid, but that takes away from your own, right? Like if you're single, you don't want to have no kids. Okay, maybe you mess with a girl, she got a kid, it's no big deal. I can throw a couple of dollars this way. I don't have to really be responsible for this kid if I don't want to be, but I can, play daddy or whatever, and I ain't got to worry about my own shit. Like if that's what you want to do, cool. I don't recommend it, but if that's what you want to do, cool. But if you have your own kid, then you need to stay the fuck away from some chick with another kid, because all of your resources should be going to your seed, right? All of your time, energy, the shit that you have available should be going towards raising up your seed properly the way that you want to, right? And that's my issue with that shit. But let's keep it.
Men can discipline his children. He can't discipline her children, especially a girl. One false accusation and his life is destroyed.
Sure. That can happen.
Let's just read one more here. This guy says, as a single father, I feel that every dollar and every minute I have to spend should be spent on my son, not somebody else's child. That's just how it is. Getting involved with a single mother means resources of time and money are inevitably going to get diverted away from my own.
Exactly.
Simple but true.
Yep.
Is what it is, right? I mean, I get the plight. And by the way, for those of you guys that are in the waiting area, just leave in the private chat what your question is, or if it's a comment, if you want to challenge us, whatever, just leave a quick private chat there and I'll get to you guys in a second. But I get the plight, they're like, okay, we deserve love too. We want to get involved as well. And you're telling guys to stay away from single moms, even though you're a single dad, you're a hypocrite. Okay, well, you can point and sputter if you want. The fact is, I've got way more money than you. You've got your kids most of the time, because women get 80% of the custody orders still, which means over the course of a month, they've got the kids 80% of the time. So a lot of these fathers sometimes find themselves in a scenario where they don't get to see their kids that often, and they spend more time parenting somebody else's kids And what ends up happening is they end up being their kids when she needs something, money, resource, attention, pay for a car, trip, whatever. But they're his kids when, it's the opposite, right? Or they're her kids if he needs to discipline them. So there's a lot of things that pop up with this. It just becomes pretty problematic.
Yeah, it's true. But, the bottom line is resources and time and attention, right? If you don't have your kids, if you were beat up in court and you don't get to, have fun with your kids, get to experience whatever, do all these things with your kids, you're only getting 80 or 20%, you know what I mean? That sucks, but that doesn't mean that you should spend that time on somebody else's kids. That is not what that means. What that means is if you can't fuck with if you can't have your kids, right? If you can't be a part of your kid's life for 80% of the time, then that time you need to dedicate to making yourself the best man that you can, right? Getting the resources up, right? Getting your assets going, right? So that way the 20% that you do have, you can take the time off and you can focus 100% on your kids, right? You can take them places, you can teach them things, you can make sure that they have the best education possible. You can make sure that they're, dressed proper, got all the gear, whatever it is that they need, right? That you can say, hey, I only get this, but I maximize what I get. That's what needs to happen, right? Work your ass off the other 80% of the time. So you can just take that 20% off and just be with your kids. You only get them for a certain amount of time. This is what we're doing. Whatever, but we're doing it together. You know what I mean? But if you're like working your ass off or working a bunch, and then when you get your kids, you're working more, right? And so you barely get to, like, the math ain't mathing. You know what I'm saying? So bust your ass so that you can take care of your kids the most time you have. And if you have more time than that, like I have a lot more time than that, if you have a lot more time than that with your kids, then you need to do the same thing, right? Sometimes you got to you got to give up. There's got to be compromises that are made. And Rich might not agree with this, you know what I'm saying? But money is not always everything, right? Going out and having assets and doing all this shit is not always everything. Yeah, you want to be able to provide your kids with the best life you possibly can. But I promise you, from ages 0 to pick a fucking number, right? That time is so important that you're investing it into your children. Right? That you're spending it with your children, that you're pouring into your children, that you're teaching your children, because they're a reflection of you. You want them to grow up with your mind, your ideals, all this shit. You know what I mean? If they're just being raised by somebody else or they're being influenced by somebody else, then in the end, when they turn 16, 17, 18, whatever it is, and they're like, fuck you, daddy. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't actually spend the time. Eventually, they're going to get to be so old. Oh, I got somebody showing up. Oh, yeah. They're going to get to be so old that they're going to be doing their own thing, and you're going to have less and less time with them, right? They're not going to want to kick it with pops. They're not going to want to be like, they're going to want to be with their friends or want to do this, that, or the other, okay? And then you'll have the time. You can say, okay, well, I got nothing better to do, right? I can go out and make more money. I can start another business. I could do whatever it is that you want to do, right? You're going to have that time. That shit is going to come, right? But you got to sacrifice. You got to sacrifice those early years. So that way, when the later years come, you know that they've been taught properly, that they've been taught with your morals, your ideas, right? And that they're going to make the decisions, the kind of decisions that you would want them to make when they're on their own. You know what I mean? But the only way you're going to be able to make sure of that is if you spend the time early, right? So, figure it out. Don't pour into somebody else's kids. If that's what you want to do, man, then go ahead. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to tell nobody what to do. I shouldn't say all that. But on the balance of probabilities, what's better for your relationship, better for you as a man, you know what I mean? Whatever. Obviously, I'm mainly talking to men here. If you only have X, right, that you can spend, whether time, energy, money, whatever it is, you know what I mean? If you only have X that you can spend, and you can, you only have so much time that you can spend on your own kid, and so you have all this extra time or whatever. You have to decide if that is something that you want to invest into somebody else's child, because being a stepfather is a thankless occupation. Okay, let me repeat that shit. Being a stepfather is a thankless occupation. One out of every like 500 stepfathers are actually treated with respect and in the end garner the kind of happiness from the effort that they put in, right? Because most times out of 10, you're just going to raise somebody else's kid until they do whatever the fuck they do. And then you're going to be like, okay, cool. Well, whatever. Right. 9 times out of 10. There are some situations where maybe, maybe Pops is, maybe he passed away or something like that. And so you're playing that role and you, in the end, and I'm not saying you should do this expecting something in return, but when you pour into somebody else's kid and they grow up and they become successful, obviously for them to turn around and say, hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Because of you, I was able to accomplish these things in my life and I never would have done that without you. Like, of course, that's what we would want to hear. But that doesn't really happen a whole lot. And if the Pops is still around, there's always going to be like this bond that you just don't have. Never mind that most relationships don't even make it that fucking far. Because women have a tendency to just jump on board a man's shit, use his resources to take care of some other dude's seed until either the next dude comes along, she's unhappy, or they work it out, or whatever the fuck happens, right? And then you're just fucking high and dry. So, if you're going to do all that work anyway, and you're a single dude, and you got your shit together, you got your money right, you're getting your bank account up there or whatever, you're doing your thing, just go find somebody who you can pour into, who you can do and build with together. And don't feel bad about it. It's not your fucking fault that this other woman is a single mother. It's not your fault. Okay. You don't need to feel some kind of obligation because she needs love too. Fuck that. Fuck that. There are like 7 billion people on the planet. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be respected. You need to not be taken advantage of. You need to reap the benefits from all the hard work and the sacrifice that you've made in your life. Okay. And the only way to do that is to be a little bit selfish. Be a little bit selfish. And it's okay. Because in this world, so many people are so selfish. Anyway, this is the Ill Bill. I'm out, man. Leave a comment, whatever. Let me know. Am I wrong? Fucking wrong. I'm wrong. But I don't believe so. Because I know exactly what the fuck it feels like to lose when you poured into somebody. And that shit ain't cool. And I don't want none of that to happen to any of y'all. All right, man. Peace.